there and welcome here to another Kerfuffle showcase, and I am delighted to have with me today Fraser Sutherland from SME Professional. How are you, Fraser?
I'm very well, thanks.
Looking very dapper there, very dapper. You're not gone full prop techie like me, but I like it. You come from a much more serious end of the market than I do there. We're talking here today about SME Professional, which many people will know as a full CRM lettings and accounts package, and indeed sales system for estate agents there. The title is Innovation and Integration in the Property Software Market. Before we get into some of the detail though, Fraser, could you just give us a bit of background? I think it's always really important to understand. Can you just give us a bit of background about when the business started, your background, and then we'll start to deal with, you know, what the problem is you help solve for agents?
Yeah, absolutely. So my background, strangely enough, as an engineer, was in design and development of stealth and acoustics systems for nuclear submarines. So I've taken that well-trodden trail to the property software industry. So
literally when somebody says it's not like rocket science or not like, I literally remember when I had it and we were talking about, I think it was going to be about 6 months to deliver the project. They said, you're not building a nuclear submarine. So this is an area you know specifically well.
Oh no, indeed, sort of very well. So so you fast forward your transform now up to your client accounting side, I suppose. But it's but no, I was involved in that side of things, spent over a decade in that area, and at the time I went away and did a lot of trial work, and was very lucky with the overtime at the time, and not a big spender myself. I started buying up properties across Glasgow and Edinburgh. Yeah. And a bit later on, decided with my brother that we would start a letting agency together, and he would run it. And that's a letting agency called Sutherland Management, that operates across about 350 properties across Edinburgh and Dundee. Okay. So, but at the time we looked at, this was back in 2006, so we looked at the software that was available in the market, and a lot of it was quite clunky. Systems that were there all seemed to be following the same approach of previous systems, and they weren't just quite right for the business. And we thought, you know, how can we automate things? How can we innovate a little bit here? So, you know, my background was ultimately in innovation. And so we started at the beginning and started building up tools to import bank statements, auto-detect transactions, before many, if not all, of the accounts packages were doing that side of things. And then, son of a lawyer, we worked with my father initially on building out a legal system with electronic signatures and documents going out for signing, and more importantly, sort of big tenancy packs you could send off as well. So really comprehensive set of tools there, and continued building it up with portal feeds and maintenance, etc. And we began to realize that what we had was so different from anything else available in the market that it'd be foolish not to make it commercially available for all companies.
So you started developing the software in 2006? 2006,
yes. Okay. And then and so I eventually left my job on Independence Day 2011, and then we launched in November of 2011. And you know, initially we've, you know, across Scotland, we've now got an absolutely massive market share where we started. We don't advertise, we don't market. It's been very much a word of mouth business where thankfully, you know, customers have 3, 4, 5 times recommended us. Mm-hmm. And you know, now we've continued that sort of spread right across the UK now. So yeah, just 11 years in with the business, and
that's great though, but that's one of those, not to get all Avengers about it, but that's one of those origin story where you're solving a problem for yourself. So, you know, people like Christian at the depository had a problem with the end of tenancy, felt frustrated in his own agency, went and did it. And actually, it's a very similar sort of story to yourself, isn't it? Looked at what's out there, there's nothing quite fits what you believe it should be doing, and gone out there, and kind of the MVP was your own business.
No, absolutely. And, you know, it's like coming from the technical axis myself, it's like with our business, it continues to be that we try to, you know, drive sales in our products with sort of technical excellence in the different areas of the software. And again, trying to think differently in far more depth than you might see elsewhere in all the different sections that we've got. So it's, you know, trying to automate as much as we can for people, and create new ideas and integrations as well that we feel sort of very important.
Well, that's great. I mean, one of the things that I absolutely love about this, it's my chance to get my hooks into a business like yours, because as you said, you've been, you know, loads of clients in Scotland, but actually you've landed, landed and rolled out to one of the 2 largest franchise groups in the UK as well, and have been rolling out at pace down here, haven't you? So this is really a product that is going places, isn't it, at the moment, in that most difficult of prop tech challenges, really, where you know, there's lots of very good sales packages out there on the CRM side of things. There's some that just do lettings and accounts, but when you are faced with the choice of bringing those two together, there ain't much out there, is there? So this is really,
yeah. And it's like this franchise group and all the different brands they've got. They've been absolutely fantastic to work with. So I think we've rolled out to just about 400 plus of their offices.
wow.
And but what's really nice is, you know, we're the right size of agency where we can actually take on their requirements and look at some of their sub brands and how they might operate differently, and design and develop specific tools for them, and other integrations as well with products they themselves use from that side of things. So yeah, but I mean, ultimately we supply everything from your smallest new start agency up to your I see your large franchise groups, and you know, your 2,000 property agent and high street, that sort of idea.
Amazing. And I always ask myself, I challenge myself to kind of say, so what's all this stuff? But actually, one of the very real benefits of having, you know, a massive 400 plus agency like that is that, you know, scalability of course isn't an issue to pretty much everybody. They know if you can handle that, you can pretty much handle anything there. You tend to realize that if you can do the sheer numbers there, you're not going to get, you know, the system slowing down as some packages do when they only deal with just small agents and everything else.
So we tend to.
And then you've got that complexity though, haven't you, as well, Fraser, around it as well. Is saying you've got multi-brands in there as well. That's an everyday challenge for many businesses that you really scuppers a lot of the suppliers out there. So there are some real benefits, aren't there, in terms of having these big boys on board for the everyday client.
No, absolutely. It's always nice because, you know, we work very, very closely with our customers in terms of feedback. We're doing regular sort of working groups and focus group sessions, and you know, ultimately as a software provider, we probably do about 10 software releases on average per week, and we've been doing that for many, many years. So, you know, we're constantly pushing on with every section in the software. So
how do you feel you help agents best then? If you were caught in an elevator and somebody said, okay, I understand you do, you know, sales, lettings and account software, where do you feel your sweet point comes though in helping solve agents' issues?
I think there's a few different things. I mean, first of all, there's the level of detail that we go into in a system, and you know, for example, every system out there will have a safety certificates management system, but most of them might just be a date box for the gas safety, for example. But with our system, it's what we try to do is separate each function of a business out into the various different processes. So rather than thinking property, or landlord, we're thinking process. We're thinking about your safety certificates. We don't want you going in and out of properties all the time. We want everything presented in one software management tool for the compliance side. And with that, we've got a level of depth I don't think seen in other software packages, whereby we've got all the information about each individual certificate type, who it was done by, when it was done, and then it's all coming up with when they're all due on the page. Click of a button, it'll send off emails, instructions. And, you know, all through the system, we've got areas where we are sending off emails, which might say 4 or 5 minutes at a time. It's nothing complicated, but the level of them in there and the level of control in the system, it's a very data-rich system, it's a very text-driven system to a certain degree, but we can provide a lot of information to people on each screen. And then on top of that, it's the reporting on top that we, rather than the traditional Excel exports, which of course we have as well, we've got specialized reporting pages, like, for example, looking at the certificates per certificate type and how it's reported on, and all the information that appears on the screen at that stage. And that's replicated again across all the inspection side of things, the maintenance side, you know, with inspections, rather than just being simply coming back from inspection and setting a 90 days later type date, we've got all sorts of information about how long it's been since the move-in, how long it's been since the last inspection, how long, you know, splitting all up by loads of different, you know, inspection types, putting routes on them across the city, that sort of thing. So it's building up that extra level of information. So it's very much a data-driven system.
I think that's such a different approach, isn't it? And it's that's really innovative as well, isn't it? Because whilst it allows you to take a holistic view of parts of the system, because you're looking at that flow of the process, you're looking at the micro as well, aren't you, in one go, which gives you a level of detail that will be probably missing in many other systems.
Yeah, no, I believe so. I mean, it's certainly, again, if people have a demonstration of our system, they'll see the level of detail and depth in there, and the amount of control. And we do other things as well. Like, for example, a lot of systems will have inbuilt calendar systems like we used to have in our software. But we've now moved to integrating with, for example, Google Calendar and Outlook, Microsoft Outlook Calendar, because then we can actually have a really advanced viewings page that lists all the viewings, all the attendees, firing off all the emails with Google Maps embedded, how to get there, the text messages. But there's just a huge amount, again, of emails, everything from cancellation emails to whatever else it might be in there. Just press a button and off it goes.
I think what I was taught when I looked at your system and hearing from other people as well who were raving about it is that, you can talk about CRM, and it probably actually across the whole tech sector. And it's very easy for providers to have kind of, the brochures tend to be all the same, don't you? Well, yes, we do. We do integrations, we do data conversions, it doesn't really matter what it is there. Many different providers can put that tick in the box at one level, but it is about a spectrum of competence, isn't it? As you said in there, and not do anything more. Integrations is a classic one. What integrations might mean to the provider, where they say yes, we do that, can be very different to what an agent wants, which is actually some level of process and efficiency that's going to come off the back of it. So, I mean, you can only fight. We're not going to deal with that here today, but I think people will get an understanding when we talk about some of this stuff going on, that you've really put a lot of effort into really going to the nth degree to make that work, haven't you?
Yeah, and even, before we go into the integration side of things, even from the point of view of development, we're always listening to our customers and come up with new ideas. And just a simple example would be, one customer came onto our system. They'd issued a dehumidifiers gone missing that they'd lent out, and I think a few weeks later we had a whole owned item section that rolled out to all customers. So when people give us ideas like that, we try and spin them up into nice areas. And touching on the integration side as well, we're a very, very open platform. And we believe, even where integrations might actually be touching on our own functionality or competing with it, we believe in giving people the choice in terms of integrations that they've got in the software, and that's important to us. And coupled with that as well, we've got a huge number of integrations in the system. And we've got an open API system where ultimately we don't charge third parties to integrate with us, and we look to build up that.
I'm going to come back to the charge element now, but the first thing I want you to do, because I did ask you this the other day and I was blown away. Could you just go through and list some of those companies that you're already integrating with? And I'm encouraging anyone here to note down, of course, who they have in their supply stack within the business, because of course many of the different CRMs, the critique that comes back is, I just wish they integrated with my key providers, and you have such an open approach to this. It's worth talking about in a bit more detail. Do you mind running through a few of those? It might take a while to go through, but
no, absolutely. First of all, with the likes of say Fixflow, and we've been integration for years with Fixflow, but recently we've finished a massive integration with them in terms of the Fixflow Plus software. So it's a completely bi-directional integration, and actually worked very closely with their development team so that we actually updated our software to reflect a lot of things in their own. So that's been fantastic. But what we tend to do is we develop sort of suites of connections that allow a particular type of product to integrate with us. And as they go live with us, we also work with them to expand out for any additional information they need. So say, for example, inspection software, we've got the likes of TouchRight, iSurvey, I think are now called Hello Reports, inventory-based KPR, and many others on the inspection side integrated with. We've got, if you're looking at the marketing side, we've got Akaboom, we've got ActivePipe. I think we've got one of the most comprehensive integrations out there with Briefy Market. We've got, utility changeover. Historically, we had exports to go to them. Now we've got full API integrations with the likes of, say, Itria, Moving Hub, Help the Move, and others. Tenancy deposit schemes, I think we were one of the first to integrate with the likes of TDS and DPS with their API suite. So that's all in there as well. Safe deposits and LPS for our Scottish customers. And I think we're working on a My Deposits API integration at the moment. Referencing, we've got the likes of Let Alliance and Hazelton Mountford. And it's important to say as well, with some of these integrations, it's not like we're just firing off a name and an email address. It's just bringing the whole suite of data across. They're really comprehensive. Viewings, we've got the likes of Inspect Real Estate, we've got the likes of PayProp from the financials, and key management, KeyZap and Keyware. And again, we've got a great key management system ourselves, but we believe if people want to use these other systems, they should be able to do so. And we also welcome any introductions from customers for their own other suppliers. We're always more than happy to discuss integrations as well.
Wow. I mean, we have got a full, I always encourage everybody to go to the landing page, look at SME Professional on there. And of course, we've got a lovely integration section. I'm going to have to check on how many we can include in there, because I think you might be stressing our limits on that phrase, to be honest.
That extends to all the major and minor portals in the UK, and also most of the bank systems in terms of...
I was going to say, because the bank system is a key one, isn't it? Certainly, it sounds like you were the first or one of the first to start importing those bank statements into the software itself for efficiency, wasn't it?
Yeah. So effectively, you might have, say, 1,000 rent transactions coming in. You import from the proprietary bank file formats. Just literally download from bank, import to your system, and it'll maybe auto assign 90-something% of those transactions for you. So it really looks to automate all that side of the client accounting as well, all the way down to creating the back schedules and firing out all the statements to the landlord, even with embedded links in the statements to bring up all the receipts if you wish them to see them as well. So
that's really important, because actually a lot of the packages professing to be good on the lettings side of things don't go to that level of detail, do they?
No, I mean, it's certainly, I think when we first started, I think the first 26 companies we ever took on had about 26 different finance models. So we tried to create a system that's got many different ways of working in the finances as possible. So it's comprehensive. So it's, so it's nice.
And one real benefit you've got there, though, is because just to reiterate again, you don't charge the suppliers, do you, for that integration? Is that
No, and we'll handle if there's additional fields and information they need to return from our system, we'll also add them into the software. So what we try and do as far as possible is, as I say, develop these suites of what are called API endpoints for these third parties to integrate with. And then by doing that, allows us just to continue to expand it for each of their needs. So I think, for example, Tenant Shop are doing integration with us at the moment as well on the utility swap overside, and they've asked to expand a number of different options in there as well, which we've just done. So
I think we're going to have to check, Fraser. I think you might be our most integrated partner to date. So that's, I don't know, if we haven't got a badge, we do need to come up with something for you. But it's nice to have a really open approach like that, because it's hard doing that work, isn't it? Keeping up all those integrations and everything else is not without its resource challenges and everything else. So for you to say, actually, we believe this is really important for our partners, and that's why we're doing it, is a lovely bit of customer service.
Yeah, no, I think it's good. I say you want to give people, you don't want to be a closed system. You want to be as open as possible and just give people the options. If you know what I mean, you never want to think they're, if they don't like the way a particular way a section in any software works, have the option to go to other third-party bits. They might suit their business model a little bit better. I think that's always important. Just keeping that flexibility, really.
Okay, cool. So, I mean, that's just one aspect of it. What, you mentioned there from the very beginning, you were looking at kind of doing new things. Why is innovation so important to you and your business?
I don't know. It's more important than anything to me, actually, really, just the combination of customer service and innovation. It's like, as I say, I'm from a technical background. My passion is developing systems, developing ideas, and working with people to, even if people got a problem. And it's, we as a business, we always say to our team, we don't do sales pitches to people as such. We consult with them, we speak with them and identify their problems. We show them our software and how it can help and assist them. So it's just all about that technical side. And I think as a business owner, you either take the viewpoint that you push very heavily in your sales and marketing on a product, or you develop it heavily technically and use that word of mouth to sort of spread across the country. So we've gone the latter, and the whole team enjoys working that way.
Well, I think if you're talking about that word of mouth, I can well imagine, looking at what we've just been, it sounds like you can be talking about the home of innovation and the home of integration as well, isn't it? Because there's two go hand in glove together there, but that's got to be a really rewarding for it. And what do your clients say about, when they've moved from all these various different systems and everything else there, and they get bedded down into the SME professional way of doing things? What's the feedback what are they most surprised at about getting on board with you guys?
I think it's the customer support, usually, more than anything. Sometimes people come across, it takes a little while to get used to spinning across to the process around property. But
you said to me, you said that's probably the biggest challenge. It's literally a kind of a headspace challenge, isn't it? It's like, Because a lot, let's be honest, people who've been using a system like CFP, they've almost been indoctrinated, haven't they, using it for like 2 to 3 decades or something else there. So that change culture is going to have to happen anyway if they're going to get to learn new things. But especially the way you go about it, it does take probably a bit longer to get.
Yeah, because I think we don't ever, we always think about what is the status quo at the moment, what can we do a little bit differently, and I think that the key to us is we're it's almost like software systems previously, as a new one came out, they've looked at the previous ones and replicated what's there and maybe added a little bit on top, but we've tried to rip it up a little bit and start again in certain areas, and that's worked quite well for us. I mean, we're well established, obviously now going 11 years, but it's all down to just constant incremental updates and additions as well. I think it's important. Yeah. So so I think customers come from, I mean, as I say, customers come from virtually every other package out there to us. But the other thing to say is customer service is the big thing that people.
Well, I definitely want to get onto that in a second, but I want to, because that incremental updates as well. You mentioned it a while ago. There is it, rather than where some suppliers will look at big quarterly updates if they're lucky, to be fair, or 6 monthly, and then they probably have their head in their hands panicking as to whether the upgrades. You don't have that approach, do you? That incremental improvement thing also works with those. Did you say weekly?
Yeah, weekly. So we usually do 9-10 releases weekly. So we've got quite an agile approach to our development. We tend to have our product team working very heavily with support team, working very heavily with the development teams. We have these teams come together for different projects. We usually got a mix of larger projects in the go and smaller releases. And smaller releases might be new filters added to a page, or someone wants new information on a page, that side of things, quite simple. Or it might be, as I say, just a brand new integration that's going out.
And does that mean because you're constantly working on the package there are less massive changes, so there's less things that can go wrong with the package, if that makes sense, isn't it? Because you didn't really want to put that to bed in terms of you're not doing these upgrades because there's anything per se wrong, is it? It's literally just keeping the innovation trail going.
Yeah, I mean, like any other one, we get occasional bug coming up that we're always very quick to resolve if that was the case. But usually cosmetic things. But no, I mean, yeah, it's just pushing on constantly with the development. So.
What is there a perfect size client for you? I mean, you mentioned, I know you've got obviously, because at the moment you are servicing across there, but is there ones that would naturally kind of fit into the SME professional way of doing things, or is it literally you can cater for across the sector at the moment?
Yeah, I think typically speaking, our traditional client would be somebody who's got, say, for example, let's say a single branch with one client account, and they might have anything from 10 properties to 2,500 properties. Or it might be a few branches working together off the same client account, or it could be a franchise network.
That's 90% of the industry, isn't it, really?
I mean, where we're probably not necessarily the best setup of system for working would be if it was a national chain that had a single back office handling one client account across a huge number of offices. So while we could adapt our software to that if a customer like that came along to us, at the moment I'd say we're more suited to the up to 2,500 per branch type office.
I think it's really useful to understand actually, and actually as you've got that history of being able to meet those demands, that's really good for people to know as well, isn't it? So just talk to us about then that. Let's start with the onboarding actually, and then we'll move on to customer service if that's okay, because there are so many packages, as we know, that they very rarely just work straight out of the box, don't they? And CRM itself, from the what most people would say is the most nightmarish, at least in their heads, that data conversion and moving to a new package fills them full of dread. It's really important, I think, I always mentioned, it's really important you don't overstate that difficulty, because that is what stops a lot of people from moving from packages that just aren't working for them. And that opportunity cost of sticking with a package that's not working is crazy, isn't it? But what's your approach to that kind of hand-holding to get them live?
Yeah, so we've got a dedicated onboard and migration team. We've migrated from most systems out there, so we've got, we can talk people through exactly what we need them to do from that regard. We take a nice approach. We've got, I think some people when they're migrating, they make the mistake of automating too much, which can lead to failure sometimes with these things. And at the same time, you don't want it to be too manual. So I think we've got a nice balanced approach where we've got lots of computerized scripts that are written to filter and clean the data. We've got lots of, just different, different macros and formulas written to do things with the data and transfer. But we also do a lot of manual checks, back and forth with the customers as well, just to make sure. I think that having that sort of human oversight, I think, is very important. So it's a big task, and sometimes we're bringing across
because otherwise
or more of lines.
There's that problem, isn't there, Fraser? Is it's rubbish in, rubbish out, isn't it? If you just move it all over and you haven't taken any time to check on it, well, why act surprised when actually you've got dodgy stuff in there?
Yeah, and it's interesting though, because as well, it's when you do move someone over, it's a good opportunity to cleanse the data, especially been on the system for a number of years, and it's pretty common that someone's coming across to us, and as they're cleaning their data, they realise there's safety certificates missing for properties from their old system and that side of things. So it's a good opportunity to review everything there. And
it's a dedicated team, am I right in saying, that kind of onboarding team as well?
Sorry, can you repeat that?
Is a dedicated team to help people get involved with that? Yeah, okay.
Yeah, cool. So we've got a dedicated team there, and then we, at that stage, we then go over to the sort of training side of it. So we've got a dedicated training team there as well, and they will do a whole series. We tend to try and do two to 3 hour sessions with them, so we don't swamp them with a whole day's worth of training. Yep. So we'll do sessions in all the different bits, make them aware of the system, go through it all. And then once that's finished, once they're actually going live, we go through what we call walkthroughs. So for example, the first time someone's doing a finance run, we'll have a dedicated member of staff that day on hand for them, and they will continually do screen shares back and forth with them during the day, while they'll be watching what the customer's doing and telling them exactly what to do to make sure they're happy and confident with that. And we'll repeat that second time as well if we need some additional help there. Then coupled with that as well, with the support team as they're going live, what we try to do is have sessions, 45-minute sessions every 2 days with them, so we can catch everything that they're doing, speak to them about it, answer any questions.
Really good.
And coupled with that as well, we've got webinar sessions that run regularly. They're actually especially good if you've got new staff starting. You don't want to pay for training all the time for them. You can just come and send them on our safety certificates webinar or inspections webinar. And finally, we've also got our help section. If you're in any section in the software, press the button for help and it'll bring up articles just associated with that section. So it's quite quick to find information, or you can search across the help side. And we've also got computerized walkthroughs as well, where in some of the pages where you press a button in the bottom right, it then says what you're trying to do, press the button, and then shows you what fields to press in what order and how to do it all. So that's through quite a lot of software now, but we're continuing to roll that out to more and more sections, so it's proven quite popular as well.
So you've got a whole blend of different approaches there, haven't you, to try and really make sure, I mean, it's obviously in your interest. One of the things that frustrates, I know, software providers and indeed the clients is where they say, well, we're only using, half the system or even less or something there. What you're talking about there is constantly trying to get that usage and that, I suppose, ultimately satisfaction with the system up to its as maximum as it can be.
No, absolutely. I mean, you want people to like your system. You want to keep developing it to make sure it meets their needs. So yeah, absolutely. And it's with the support team itself. We've tried our best to try and recruit as many people from industry as possible. So we've got ex branch managers from the property industry. We've got ex senior property managers. We've got ex client accounting specialists from that side of things from the property industry, and we've mixed that in as well with ex teachers and that sort of thing. So we've got a good. We look for really good skills in our support team because it's so important, if you know what I mean. And we're all UK based as well, which I think also sometimes helps communication wise and that side of things.
Well, it definitely can, can't it? I mean, if you think about, a normal prop tech call might be, literally, how do I do this? How do I do that? Even on sales CRM software, it can be very difficult. When you're getting into more detailed levels of property management, certainly into accounts, that's where you can't just have a drone, can you? Essentially a help desk monkey, as people would unkindly call them, and everything else. You need to, somebody needs to understand how important this is and how do you actually, how do you get to the bottom of this in the quickest possible time?
No, absolutely. And I mean, we're based in Edinburgh. Our offices, and Edinburgh's fantastic as a hub. It's so easy to get to us by train down the East Coast Main Line, or we're not far in a flight from anyone domestically as well, or that sort of thing. So we're always happy to welcome people to our offices, meet the team in person, and go through any sort of challenges they might have in their businesses that they'd like us to look at.
Fantastic. So that obviously getting you live is important there, and that kind of have that hand holding as well going forwards with the after support. And does that carry through to account management as well? Is there, are you always letting your clients kind of know what's coming next and everything else there? How does the ongoing management of things happen within SME Professional?
Yeah, there's probably more we could do in that area, to be fair. At the moment, we send out a newsletter to our user base to advise them of any sort of major releases that are going out. That will cover everything that's going out. You know, if there's a small field being added or something that's just an addition, the page won't always be in there. But anything that's sort of big new functionality will go into that newsletter. That side of things.
So, you know, you have, I take it there, we spoke about before, you've got conversions routines already for most of the main packages on this side of things, or?
Yeah, absolutely.
So, because you know that'll be the first thing that people will look at, isn't it? Is, you know, they kind of, first of all, they want to know technically that you can do it, and then secondly that it's also that you've been there before and somebody's walked a mile in their shoes is tremendously helpful to know that that's been the case.
Absolutely. And I think as I say, I won't mention names, but you know, most patches people have come across to us from, and you know, in reasonable numbers. So we've got a lot of knowledge on how to migrate them in each of these cases.
You mentioned the knowledge. You haven't said it, I think, on here, but you said it to me the other day. Didn't you say how many years of development has gone into the product so overall? I mean, as you said,
I don't know. It's a bit difficult to say. I've just been guessing to a certain extent. But I mean, there must be at least I don't know, 150 years worth of probably software engineering development. I don't know. I'd have to be careful what I say with that. But there's, you know, we've got a good size.
I don't think anyone can challenge you. I don't know how anyone would do anyway. But
no. So, but you know, even on top of that, all the product management side of things in terms of building up the product and specifications and all the work that goes in there. I mean, it's absolutely huge and it's core to our business. And you know, we never want to stop with the software. We want to just keep going. So we will keep developing.
Every time I talk to you, I love the intensity about that approach to, you know, looking at the detail, looking at and this is of course where it comes from. You see so many sales packages that have developed the kind of the letting side of things afterwards, but you know, then it seems to have almost like a shallow level of functionality in comparison to you guys that have lived and breathed these processes yourselves.
Yeah. So you know, from the state agency side, it's, you know, that's a much newer product for us. It's only a few years old in comparison, but it's a lot easier to come from a high functionality letting system and scale that down for certain elements of the state agency than it is to do going the other way. Yeah, so I think for agencies that got lettings and sales aspects to them, you know, we are a very good product for that. I think there's still more we can do on the state agency side. We continue to grow it, but again, we've got these brand new ideas that are a little bit different to what's out there, we think, and then it's going down well with a lot of customers that are coming across from other systems to it.
The feedback I've had so far is the price point as well. You are very competitively priced, haven't you, as well? So that value for money ethos runs through to even the way you see software being delivered there.
Yeah, and I mean, one of the key things is we never wanted to penalise companies for having part-time staff and to have lots of users and that side of things. So we've tried to do a pricing model based on properties instead. So, so we've got a base cost for the first 100 properties, then a price per property thereafter. Yeah. And, you know, that seems to go down well with people. Again, we just try to keep it fair. We don't want to charge over the odds for software. You know, we want to make sure it's nicely priced, but it's the same top of the range in terms of functionality and.
Well, in the middle of this cost of living crisis, that's going to go down very well with people listening anyway, in terms of that. I feel a little bit cheeky about this one here, because it's like, you know, what else have you got for me? But it doesn't stop there, does it? Are you right in saying you have website offerings as well?
Yes, we do website design and development company as well. We've got sort of graphic design team, website development team. What's interesting about us, because we've got a software engineering team as well, we do quite interesting projects. So again, for the franchise network that we've got to work for, we've rolled out websites for all their different brands. And again, it's really nice because we've designed systems that we can spin out websites again and again for new brands that are bought up. We've put in functionality for all their individual offices to control elements of the sites. And we also design all our sites with our own page builder technology. So you're never coupled to the website developer all the time for additional costs for creating new pages and that sort of things. So we're allowing people the freedom to do a lot of that themselves. So we've got that, but we've also got, for our smaller customers, we've got what we call websites as a service. So it's a monthly fee to rent a website from us. So you can get a high-end website with all the technology that's in there, but an affordable price, plus lots of other systems we add on top in terms of security and that side of things. So that's, again, we've tried to get the nice solutions from everything from your one-man band letting agency to your bespoke site for mid-range to a high-end, very complex site for larger ones.
Crazy. You don't always have to have your website company being done by the people who do it, but there is a real benefit if the sum of the parts is greater, isn't it? If you can have them working in
Yeah.
there.
No, absolutely. So, for example, with our websites, you could book viewings directly into the software. We're doing a lot of work in lead management, so we can now pull any leads coming into the website directly into the software, as we can for Zoopla, Rightmove, on the market. So all those viewing requests are just getting sucked into the software all the time, which is again quite a nice bit of functionality.
Right. Well, I can certainly vouch for your domain knowledge. Because we jumped on the call the other day and you gave us loads of hints and tips about our own Kerfuffle website, which I shamelessly took off you gratefully. It's really good. I think that really is useful to understand it when you're dealing with experts, obviously in their fields, that they know what they're talking about, I suppose, is the obvious thing. So that's fantastic. Well, look, I think it's wonderful. I mean, I'm definitely going to catch up with you. One of our next webinars, I want to go into a few of those integrations, because I think that's so important to a lot of people that they get that right. But I think the main thing for me I'm taking away from this today is they're getting rid of this kind of almost this urban myth, that you're an industry best kept secret. There's no reason for it, is there? I feel very lucky actually that I managed to persuade you to come on Kerfuffle, because you were doing all this fantastic business before anyway from this word of mouth. But people need to understand just how much you can do out there, I think, is the honest way.
Yeah, just if it's of interest to people, just please come. Our door's always open, so come speak to us, and we'd like to hear from you, whether it's something for now or something for a few years' time even. So just
job, people have a go to SME Professional on the kerfuffle.com, have a look at extra detail, have a look at those integration partners there, and if you want to obviously click contact us, we will hand those over to Fraser, and him and his team will be in contact to get a demonstration. I think if you're serious about the lettings and the account side of things, you need to have a look at these guys to understand just how much they do. So Fraser, for today, thank you so much for spending the time to update me.
Thanks, Simon.
Look forward to catching up soon.
Cool. Thank you.
Cheerio.